Right, I'm going to go through how you might export your project. So, say for instance, you want to carry on working on it or do a different variant of it. Now, obviously, that means you've got to gather together all the various materials that you've assembled in the course of creating your particular version of it. So, I'm going to use, for the benefit of brevity, a smaller project rather than one of the large ones that you've done. So, I'm just going to open project on my machine like this. Now, immediately, this is where you'll see there's potential issues. In the instance when I looked at the Paint project, it had this error message because some of the files were actually stored on a local desktop in the downloads or documents folder. Now, unless you're that particular person, you won't actually have access to that. So if there's some critical files, instead of putting on the shared storage you had on somebody's local storage area, then you need to be able to either correct copies of those or reproduce them. So that is a particular issue. In this instance, I needed some space on my laptop, so I cleared out this particular file. We're going to just offline that for the moment and move on through to it. This is just the kind of thing I put together on the work of Chris Rock. But let's say I wanted to work on this on another machine, so I want to bundle up all the files. The way I'm going to do that is go File, Project Manager down here. And the intention of this is to do just that. Now, depending on how complete you want to be, if you just want to work on the files that came with the final sequence you did, then if my final sequence is called Chris Rock, then I just select that. But if there's other ones, I might want some footage that came with that as well. And going through this, collect files and copy to new location. That's the most straightforward way of doing it. Consolidate and transcode, that's going to take a lot longer in terms of time. It will change the format of it, but it's useful if, for instance, you're going to move to a machine where it doesn't recognize the particular file format that you're working on. But we'll assume doing collect files and copy to new location. This is quite a critical one. Exclude unused clips. Now, if you're just going to simply do a tweak of the clips that are already on the timeline, then you could probably choose this. But the likelihood is you might want to see some of the other footage you've got and cut that into a different version or entirely different project entirely. So I'm going to uncheck that. Include audio conform files. Yeah, again, that will take up space, but that will save you having to conform the audio when you do the project. Include preview files, similar thing. These are things that are rendered out. Let's say I'm not going to include those. Rename to match clip names. Now, there is some talk on the forums that this is slightly imperfect. I'm going to carry this out. I haven't used this thing before, but I'm going to carry it out and have a quick look at what we get. Then you're asked to choose a destination for this. So let's just say, for argument's sake, I'll go into the desktop, create a new folder, and call this CR2. Create there, choose, that's fine. Disk space available, not very much. Original project size unknown. Now, I started doing this on the Paint project because it's Ethan who originally requested this, and there is this button to calculate size. Because of the actual enormity of that project, it's still like only done about 1% 10 minutes later. So I'll see if this works, otherwise I'll shell out of it. So how long is it going to take to do this? Calculate 13 gigs. Okay. So I'm not actually, well, shan't I? No, I'm not actually going to do this because I'll need the space for the screening tomorrow. But if I was then to click OK, what's going to happen is it's going to gather up all the files, save for that one that I offlined, and put them all together in one folder, so I can then just pick that off with a USB stick or a drive and then move that to another machine and carry on working on it. So that is one way to do it, with the caveat that, number one, it's going to be a problem if some of your files are located on someone's local storage and you don't have access to that. Number two, the size of it is such that, you want to not do the analyze project. So when I did a get info on the directory that contained Paint, that actually was about 300 gigabytes. So if you're going to take all of that, if you're just going to tick all those boxes, get all the sequences, all the unused clips that are contained within that, then potentially it's that sort of size. That is another strategy, just to copy and paste that entire folder to somewhere else. I haven't checked yet whether there is a limit of pulling that amount of files off of the shared storage. that is something I'll investigate further. But this is kind of initially show you, this is Project Manager, this is how you can gather together files and make them available in another directory that you can then pull off and work on separately.